one of my concerns has been with engagement and transparency. So some of those things can be changed with very minimal, if any, actual expenditure. So I think I used as an example the Lawrence Listens. So that's something we have set up that we could get feedback from the community pretty easily. And you can use social media also. There's the things, again, we have people that are already working on that. They just would need to expand on that a little bit. This is part of like a long tradition in Lawrence of people being highly engaged. And I think as we grow, as we get bigger, it's a very good idea to keep people engaged in that so that we remain the kind of community that we all think we are. One of the issues partly with that was the introduction, I believe, if I understand the discussion, of community benefit, and that many feel that it kind of came in a middle time in the process and maybe wasn't vetted as clearly or as long as many of the other items were. I share concerns about process in City Commission and as well as other boards. If the introduction of material or the use of material is a moving target for the public, then it's hard for people to advocate for the things that they believe in. So I share that concern. That being said, I understand the reason that they're doing some of the tiered efforts. I understand that. I think a lot of people do. So as this comes forward, it's going to pass City Commission before I ever get there. But as we go forward, we should definitely be talking about how we can get the public to understand these things, because there's clearly details that, let's say, the real estate community understand that the broader public doesn't. And we need to have that conversation out in the open so that people understand. And where there's an actual disagreement, that will be clear. But where it's just a misunderstanding or where it's a matter of education, then that will also become clear. Certainly, the city bears responsibility in attracting jobs, and certainly with certain organizations that particularly are geared towards attracting different kinds of jobs, those things are important. That being said, it isn't necessarily the city's job to make people money. So to attract someone because we have all the things they need, like a highly educated workforce or strong school district. Those things already attract people to us. We should definitely be capitalizing on those things for whatever reasons, one of them being location, that we're in between two other large cities that can sometimes attract people to work in those places, and people live here, or to live in those places and people work here. We definitely, as a city and working with these other partners, need to work towards solving some of those situations so that we have stronger job opportunities here. That's certainly the largest complaint that I hear is job opportunities, no question. So I will acknowledge that I already know that they solved the problem. I will say retrospectively that probably if I had been looking at it, I would have looked at the new raise in payment for city commissioners before I would come up with the solution that they did. The solution they came up was to sacrifice some money towards evaluating the city manager. Then that would have actually just led to another tough question, to be honest, which would be weighing giving that money to the community shelter or giving that money to community development. So I'll just be honest about how that happened after I had answered the question before. That is certainly an ethical quandary, whether or not to put that money towards people who absolutely need it, who will be out in the cold in the winter, or whether to reinvest it. So I definitely would want to avoid a quandary like that, and I think that's why I probably would have moved more towards trying to cut something like a raise for city commissioners or something like that. But I just want to acknowledge that it's a little unfair to ask me at this point since I already know what they did. for the last 4 years or so, I've just been attending city commission meetings for fun, for enjoyment, to learn how things are working. And since then, I've also gotten on, I think I'm on 5 boards now, and I was also on another board. I'm on the Board of Zoning Appeals. I serve as the chair of the Lawrence Association of Neighborhoods. I've also been on another city board, was the Transient Guest Tax Grant Program. So I think that teaches me a lot about how the city works. Also just watching city commission and other commissioners kind of coming and going, and how they all have their own different style, how they interact with each other. That's very important. I don't think people understand the interactions between the commissioners interpersonally, but also the relationship between commissioners and staff, and between commissioners and the city manager. I think it's not always clear to the public what the flow chart or the hierarchy is of those relationships, but I think they're extremely important to get things done, to create consensus, and to move forward on things. Because if those parties aren't listening to each other or hearing each other, then I notice nothing gets accomplished. So I think that's absolutely something that I would bring to the table. Yes. So it is absolutely important to reach outside of your bubble, to speak to new people of all walks of life, and to not be afraid to engage those people, not be afraid to be told that you're wrong or that they disagree with you. Certainly I've seen that in the past, that commissioners don't necessarily like to be told that they're wrong or that they disagree with them. So it's absolutely important for engagement, especially here in Lawrence, where we have a high expectation of engagement and activism and advocacy, to really lean into that and be looking for it on your own, and be every day meeting new people and finding new people with different ideas.